I want to ask you something, and I need you to actually think about it before you answer, not react. Think. When was the last time you did something, not because it moved you up the ladder, not because it looked good on Instagram, not because someone expected it, but just because it made you feel alive? Take your time. If that answer took more than 3 seconds, this video is for you. My name is Robert. I'm 69 years old. I spent 35 years as a corporate attorney in Chicago. Big firm corner office, my name on a glass door on the 41st floor of a building downtown. I drove a car that cost more than my parents' first house. My kids went to the best private schools in Illinois. And at 61 years old, sitting alone in that office at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday night in February, and everyone else gone home, I had a thought so quiet and so terrifying that I almost didn't let myself finish it. I don't think I've ever actually lived. Not one day, not one honest, fully present mind day. 35 years gone. And the worst part, nobody stole them from me. I handed them over willingly, eagerly. I was proud of it. Today I'm going to tell you exactly how that happens, because it is happening to you right now, whether you're 24 or 54. And more importantly, I'm going to tell you what I did about it in the 8 years since. Because the ending, I'm relieved to say, is not a sad one. But we have to start with the lie, the one America told us, the one we told ourselves. I grew up in a middle-class family in Ohio. My dad worked at a paper mill. My mom was a school secretary. Good people, honest people. And they had one hope for me, one prayer, really, that I would do better than them. Not different, better, more, further up. And I understood what that meant without anyone having to say it out loud. More money, more status, more respect, because in the world I grew up in, respect wasn't something you were given. It was something you earned. And the currency was success. So I worked. God, did I work. Graduated top of my class at Ohio State. Busted into law school on a scholarship. Graduated, joined a firm, billed 80-hour weeks like I was trying to win a competition nobody else knew we were playing. And here's the thing. America rewards that. America celebrates that. There are entire industries built around convincing you that your willingness to sacrifice everything for success is not just admirable, it's identity. We've got a word for it. We call it hustle culture. We put it on t-shirts. We put it in motivational speeches. We make podcasts about it. The grind never stops. Sleep is for the weak. You can rest when you're dead. You can rest when you're dead. I said that. I repeated that. I believed it. But here's what nobody in those motivational speeches ever told me. The finish line is a mirage. You hit one milestone, and the next one is already waiting. You make $100,000 a year, and you need $200,000. You make partner, and you need to be managing partner. You buy the 4-bedroom house, and you need the 5-bedroom with the bigger yard. The goalposts, they don't just move, they sprint. I call it the American escalator. You step on thinking it's going to take you somewhere. And it does. It just never stops. There's no top floor. You ride it your whole life and you never realize it's not an escalator at all. It's a treadmill dressed up in expensive clothes. And the cruelest part of this lie isn't that it wastes your time. The cruelest part is that it makes you feel like you're winning while it's doing it. I felt productive. I felt important. I felt like a man who had his act together. My colleagues respected me. My clients needed me. My kids bragged about me to their friends. Robert Mitchell, senior partner. I was a walking, talking, billing, achieving machine. And I had absolutely no idea I was hollow inside. 8 years ago, my son called me. He was 32 at the time. He'd just gotten engaged. Wonderful girl, Emily. And he called to tell me the news. And I remember I was in the middle of reviewing a brief. So I said, and I quote, "That's great, buddy. I'm proud of you. I'm going to have to call you back. I'm slammed right now." He said, "Sure, Dad." And I hung up. I hung up on my, and I remember sitting there after we hung up thinking, I am my father. Not the version I wanted to be, not the version who coached Little League and stayed for dinner and asked how your day was and actually waited for the answer. The other version, the one who showed up physically but was absent in every way that counts. Now, I want to be careful here because I know what you might be thinking. Okay, yeah, work-life balance. We've heard this. And I don't want you to tune this out because you've heard a version of it before. Because this is different from work-life balance. This isn't about clocking out at 5 p.m. This is about something much deeper. This is about who you are when you're not performing. See, I had become so habituated to performing success, performing confidence, performing competence, that I had genuinely lost track of who I actually was underneath it, what I liked, what moved me, what mattered to me outside of a deal closing or a court victory. I remember my wife, Carol, asking me one night, and we've been married 31 years at that point. She asked me, what do you actually enjoy, Robert? Like, what lights you up? And I started to answer, and I stopped, and I started again, and I stopped again. And then I got a little irritated, like the question was unfair or too vague. But it wasn't unfair. It was the simplest question in the world. And I had no answer. 31 years into a life I'd supposedly built for myself, and I had no answer to what do you enjoy. That's when I knew I was in trouble. Not career trouble, not financial trouble, something worse, identity trouble. So I've had 8 years now to sit with all of this, to think about, to talk to other people my age and younger people and therapists. Yes, I finally went to therapy at 62, which is one of the better decisions I've ever made. And I want to share with you what I believe are the 4 silent trades we make. The 4 things we give up without ever consciously agreeing to give them up. The first trade is time for money. And look, I know you need money. I'm not going to stand here and pretend I don't understand that. Bills are real, student loans are real, rent in this country is insane. I get it. But there's a version of this trade that goes way past necessity and into something else entirely. There's a version where you're not working to live. You're living to work, where you feel guilty taking a vacation, where you answer emails at your kid's soccer game, where your identity has fused so completely with your job title that if someone took the title away, you wouldn't know who you were. I was there. And the terrifying thing about that place is it doesn't feel like a problem. It feels like dedication. It feels like responsibility. It feels virtuous. The second trait is presence for achievement. This one cost me the most. You can be physically in a room with the people you love and be completely absent. Your body is at the dinner table. Your mind is running through the day, the next day, the deal, the meeting, the deadline. You're nodding. You're saying, mm-hmm, but you are not there. And the people who love you, they feel it. They don't always say it, but they feel it. Children, especially. Kids know when they're not really being seen, and they adjust. They stop asking. They stop sharing. They find other people to be seen by. I missed that with my kids in real time. I've had to rebuild it, and they've let me, and I'm grateful, but I missed it, and you can't get that time back. The third trait is authenticity for approval. At some point, and this happened to me slowly, subtly, I stopped making decisions based on what I actually wanted and started making them based on what would look right, what the partners would think, what the neighborhood would think, what success was supposed to look like for someone at my level. The cars, the vacations, the right vacations, Napa and Vail, not the places I actually wanted to go. The opinions I kept to myself because they weren't the right opinions for someone in my position. I curated a version of myself for public consumption, and I lost touch with the original. And when you lose touch with the original, there's this gnawing feeling you can't name. This vague dissatisfaction you try to medicate with more achievement, more acquisition, more distraction. Because if you stop and get quiet, you might have to feel how far you are from yourself. The fourth trade is the present for the future. This one is the sneakiest because it masquerades as wisdom. Planning is smart. Saving is smart. Investing is smart. But there is a version of this that becomes pathological, where every current moment is only valuable as a stepping stone to the next one. You're not enjoying your 30s. You're building towards your 40s. You're not enjoying your 40s. You're building toward retirement. You get to retirement and you don't know how to be present because you've spent 40 years training yourself not to be. I have a friend, a brilliant guy, retired at 62, who told me he felt lost the first 2 years of retirement because he had no idea how to exist without a goal to chase. He'd outsourced his entire sense of purpose to his calendar. Take the calendar away, and there was nothing underneath it. We were never taught to be. We were only ever taught to do. So here's where I want to give you something useful, because I don't want this to just be a sad story about a guy who wasted time. That helps nobody. At 61, after that phone call with my son, I made some decisions. Some of them were dramatic. I left the firm 2 years later than I'd planned, stepped down from senior partner level to focus only on the cases I genuinely cared about. But most of the changes were small. Embarrassingly small, actually. I started eating breakfast at the table instead of in my car. I started calling my sister every Sunday. We hadn't talked more than twice a year for a decade. She lives in Phoenix. We talk every Sunday now for 45 minutes. I look forward to it more than almost anything in my week. I told Carol what I was feeling for the first time in probably 20 years. Not the performed version of fine, the actual version. Confused, a little scared, uncertain about who I was outside of the job. And she cried, not because she was upset, because she said she'd been waiting 15 years for me to say something real. That one conversation probably saved our marriage. Not the therapy, not the grand gestures, just honesty. I want to give you 4 shifts, not a program, not a 30-day challenge, just 4 shifts in how you think. Shift 1, swap I'll be happy when for what can I appreciate right now. This isn't toxic positivity. I'm not telling you to pretend everything is fine when it isn't. I'm telling you that the habit of deferring your satisfaction, I'll enjoy life once I have X, is one of the most dangerous habits a human being can have. Because X keeps moving. Practice noticing what's good now, even a little, even imperfectly. Your brain will follow where you point it. Shift 2. Audit your calendar like you audit your finances. Where is your time actually going? Not where do you think it's going? Where is it actually going? Most people have a very vague, flattering sense of how they spend their time. Write it down for 1 week. You'll be surprised what you find. You'll be surprised what you've been funding that you never consciously agreed to fund. Shift 3. Have one conversation today that you've been putting off. Not a text, a call, a real one. The person you've been meaning to check in with, the relationship that drifted and you haven't done anything about, the I love you haven't said in a while because it feels awkward now. Start there. You'll be amazed how quickly something frozen can thaw when you just show up. Shift 4. Do one thing this week that has no ROI. Something you do purely because it makes you feel like yourself. An old hobby, a long walk with no podcast in your ears, cooking a real meal, playing an instrument you gave up, something that has no productivity value whatsoever. You will feel slightly guilty doing it. And that guilt is the very thing you need to push through. Because if you feel guilty doing something that makes you happy, that's the proof you've gone too far in the wrong direction. I want to end with something I've thought about a lot. There's a question people ask at the end of life. The what did you wish you'd done differently question. And we assume it's a question only old people have to wrestle with. But it's not. It's a question you should be asking yourself right now, while there's still time, while you can still do something with the answer. If you died tomorrow, not as a scare tactic, just as a clarifying thought, would the way you've been spending your time reflect who you actually are, the things that actually matter to you? Most people, if they're honest, would say no. And most people keep not saying yes. Not because they're lazy or selfish or don't care, but because the system we live in the American hustle machine, is extraordinarily good at making busyness feel like purpose, at making exhaustion feel like virtue, at making the chase feel so urgent that you never stop long enough to ask, chase what exactly and why? I'm 69. I've got, God willing, maybe 20 more years, maybe less, maybe more. I don't know. And for the first time in my adult life, I'm okay with that uncertainty because I'm not deferring anymore. I'm not saving my real life for later. I have breakfast at a table. I talk to my sister on Sundays. I go to my grandkids' games and I actually watch them. I'm not on my phone. I'm not drafting emails in my head. I'm watching a 7-year-old try to kick a soccer ball. And it is one of the finest things I've ever seen. I went to New Mexico last year, just Carol and me, and we drove through the desert for 2 weeks with no itinerary. We ate at diners. We pulled over when something looked beautiful. We talked more on that trip than we had in 10 years. That's what I traded the corner office for. I think I got the better deal. If any part of this hits somewhere real for you, I want you to do one thing: not share the video, not like it, though I appreciate both. I want you to close this and do one thing differently today. One small thing that says, I am not putting this off anymore. That's all it takes to start. One thing. Today. Because I promise you, the version of you that looks back from 20 or 30 years from now is watching what you do next. Don't give them anything to regret.